president. And we're pleased to be joined right now by John Shelton, of course, AAF, Advancing American Freedom. He is the Vice President of Policy. John, good morning to you. How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me on, Jeff.
Always a pleasure.
Really appreciate it.
We won't ask you about kamikaze dolphins. We'll get you right into the heart of the matter. When we look at, tell people a little bit the Surgeon General. This is, once again, it can have a very important role, but once again, a lot of us question, well, why do we need a Surgeon General? Talk a little bit about that, and I want to get into the past nominee who's kind of drifted off a little bit, Casey Means.
Yeah, so Surgeon General role, most of us probably know Surgeon General by the warnings on cigarette boxes and things like that say Surgeon General warning, this product may cause cancer, generally telling us things that we already know or are not surprised by, warning labels on alcohol or other things that it's not healthy for you. Originally, back in the founding era, John Adams created the predecessor to this role to basically run the merchant marine hospitals. That changed over time, and that's kind of part of the reason why when you see the Surgeon General, he or she is wearing this kind of Navy-style uniform.
Yeah.
It's not stolen valor necessarily. It's this long history going back to, the Surgeon General was the person who ran the Marine Hospital Service back in just post-Civil War era. And over time, the position has shrank down a lot. It's gone from this largely administrative, largely attached to the military position to basically being an advisor for the president over at the Department for Health and Human Services, and then doing advisories on different products and things like that. So I mean, if the Surgeon General position disappeared, I think we'd be fine. I don't think anybody would be confused about whether or not cigarettes were healthy or alcohol was good for you beyond a glass or two. But it's been this flashpoint. It's a soapbox, right, to speak to the American people. The last Surgeon General under President Biden, used his platform to write this whole book on the epidemic of loneliness. And so it's this influential position. It's got some cultural power, some cultural purchase. And it's become kind of controversial recently because it's been caught up in all these larger debates about the future of American health with regards to vaccines, with regard to pesticides, herbicides like Roundup, and even these internal fights within the conservative movement about which direction we should be heading. This new kind of phenomenon of Make America Healthy Again, MAHA, or these old traditional conservative values, where we're concerned about HHS and abortion and affordability and these other things. And so, I'm speaking from the traditional conservative side of the party on these things. That's my perspective, but happy to talk more about all those different pieces, and Casey Means in particular.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about Casey Means. She was the nominee and, brought that forward. Once again, and if I'm not mistaken, you were actually opposed to her. And, I when I started to research a little bit more, there were some red flags that flew up with me as well in this particular case. Talk about her nomination a little bit and some of the things that you were looking at or noticed.
Yeah, so Casey Means came in to the administration, or at least was nominated as part of this MAHA movement, led by RFK Jr. RFK, as many of your listeners will remember, suspended his campaign and threw in with the Trump campaign, bringing the Trump campaign extra votes that helped him clear the general election and become the president. And so Casey Means was part of this sort of informal deal with Republicans that they were going to support these MAHA causes. So Casey and her brother Callie are two of the bigger figures in the MAHA movement. Casey is this kind of fitness wellness influencer. She attended medical school but didn't finish her residency program. She's not a practicing or board certified physician, but she is a very popular podcaster. And for us, I mean, that wasn't, that's one of the things is this is not a practicing doctor. This role is traditionally held by practicing doctors. It was some of the other stuff that's actually more concerning. So in, I think it's 2020, Casey Means writes this book. It's kind of a MAHA Bible called Good Energy. And in it, she talks about doing magic mushrooms, psilocybin, which is a federally regulated drug. If you did it, you would be guilty of a felony, a drug felony, even in states theoretically where it's decriminalized. And so Casey Means actively talks about using these illegal drugs in her book. And this wasn't like a youthful indiscretion as in the recent past. It's still within the statute of limitations. And in the book, it's further. It's not just like a personal indiscretion. She recommends that everybody starts microdosing with psilocybin, and so that's like another red flag. There's also, she's more concerned about Tylenol than magic mushrooms. To me and to many people, and I think now to the administration that pulled her nomination, she was kind of a bit too far out there to be credible. She couldn't clear her own, the president's own party. Republicans blocked her in the Senate. She wasn't able to get votes from many of them. And unlike some of these other controversial candidates, like RFK had some crossover appeal. Casey Means didn't have anyone like Maggie Hassan, is on Help Committee for New Hampshire.
Yeah.
There was no Democrats coming to rescue her because they were concerned about, one, that she was making profits that were undisclosed off of supplements and other things that she was selling, but then also on her views on vaccines. And that's kind of one of the more challenging situations. And so the person that she got replaced with just this past week is a more, kind of within the MAHA movement, wrote this book on making America healthy again, but a little bit more conventional ways that will probably help her get through the confirmation process. So she's been critical of the administration in this resurgence of measles, so the measles outbreak, critical in other ways, but sharing these core concerns with other like MAHA leaders. But there's been frustration because this is the one kind of thing that they were asking for. There's priorities included things like food dyes, getting those banned, getting glyphosate, so the chemical in Roundup, off the market, and getting Casey Means installed. And so the MAHA movement's been pretty frustrated by the administration. I've been pretty pleased with them because for me this means more food for people, more reliable food, and without forcing people to take vaccines. It's my opinion that we're generally better off with access to these things.
Well, and that's an excellent point. Once again, we're talking to John Shelton, of course, who we posted his information up online. AAF, of course, Advancing American Freedom. It brings up I like when you have these somewhat contested nominees, John, because it also gives us another opportunity to kind of look at these organizations, HHS and of course CDC, and now looking at the Surgeon General. Part of the problem is that when we look at the Surgeon General, I don't even know how much money we invest in them. I don't even know what their budget is. I don't know what they're doing for that budget. And, you brought up a lot of things when I was listening to you talk that, it seems to me that one thing that we should be doing, regardless of who the nominee is maybe looking a little bit deeper into this organization and even trying to decide whether we want to continue it. Is it worth the investment we put into it?
Yeah, I think, this is your money, right? This is your money, my money, your listeners' money. We don't need to have these positions. I mean, you make whatever you will of kind of the DOGE movement to cut the federal government and the, where they chose to cut and where they didn't. But there's no doubt that all of our money is not being used as well as it could be. And honestly, the Surgeon General position is one that we could probably do without. Previous administrations have gone without even a confirmed Surgeon General. So that kind of like nothing is going to be ground to a halt without the Surgeon General existing. There's still going to be health regulations, drug regulations in place. There's other people who take care of that. And so to the extent that this has just become like a soapbox for a supporter of the administration who they want to install as a favor to a certain faction, I don't know that it's the best use of taxpayer money. I don't know that it's going to balance the budget if we get rid of it, but, we should be scrupulous about how we're using that money.
Outstanding. Once again, we posted John's information. Hey, John, before we let you go, any other final thoughts on this? As I said, it is interesting. You put the spotlight on this, and of course, Casey Means was the person the spotlight put on. But I think there is certainly a bigger conversation that can be had about the effectiveness of the Surgeon General, where it goes from here. Any other final thoughts before we let you go?
Yeah, maybe just check out Nicole Safier. So she's the replacement candidate. She's got this kind of incredible testimony about being a young 17-year-old, pregnant without being intended, accidental pregnancy, a story about carrying that baby to term, and her frustrations with kind of the left and the right on these questions about the unborn babies. And it's just a very sympathetic case. I think that'll carry her a long way in this process. So again, probably get rid of the position altogether, but Nicole Saphier seems like a great kind of story, a great person if we're going to keep on having this position.
Yeah, that was a very intriguing story. Like I said, before I even know, I'd only caught part of the story initially, and I didn't hear Surgeon General attached to her, and I thought it was a very intriguing story. And I wish more people like that made their way in close to being either policymakers or being close to the ear of people who are policymakers, because I think it adds really a really much needed valued voice in those conversations. John, thanks for joining us once again. John Shelton, we posted his information up online, Advancing American Freedom. You have a great rest of the week, and we'll chat with you again.